So my name's Dr. Joanna Pearce. I'm a lecturer and course coordinator within the School of Business and Law at Edith Cowan University in Perth, Western Australia. I've been course coordinator of the Tourism and Hospitality Management program within ECU for the last 18 months. And prior to that, I was just a lecturer within the discipline. I've certainly enjoyed my time with ECU over the last 6 years. And prior to that, I worked for various state governments in the environmental departments across Australia, but returned to academia in around 2016 and have been working my way through navigating the process of academia since then. So certainly my dean, my associate dean discipline, so my line manager approached me and asked if I would be interested in this particular opportunity. And I was really drawn to the opportunity because I saw it was run by women within academia. So certainly I know there are a number of leadership courses available within academia, but particularly as this one was led by women for women. And I thought that was a really good way to they would have really good insights into what it is like to be a woman within academia, and recognising that there are differences in how leadership is approached and how leadership is done from male and female perspectives. So the impact that Aurora's had on me so far has certainly opened my eyes to recognising that a lot of the I wouldn't say issues, but a lot of the challenges, advantages, circumstances that I experience as a female academic that's still relatively junior are certainly experienced by female academics from across the range of institutions, in terms of some of us are navigating motherhood with working, some of us are navigating returning to work after having children, some of us are looking forward to how to work our way up the leadership ladder and those sorts of things. So certainly the impact of that, of recognising that there are similar challenges and opportunities and instances that we as women face, and also recognising and appreciating that a lot of the time we often don't think of what we value or what we want to do. And it gave us a real opportunity to sort of think through in terms of how we value leadership, what type of leadership style do we value, how do we want to come across as leaders. The thing that really resonated with me was that leadership is a verb, not a position. So it was recognizing that I didn't necessarily have to have the title of a leader to be a leader, and that really set the tone for me. And that came up in the very first full session that we had, that there are ways of being a leader without having that title associated with it. And recognizing that a leader doesn't mean that you make all the decisions. It means knowing how to temporarily take responsibility for decisions, but then giving back and getting people to make their own decisions with what they're capable of doing. So that was just a couple of things that really came to the fore with me in terms of the impact that it's had, and recognizing that there are different leadership styles, and you don't necessarily have to have that title in order to exhibit leadership. Yeah, so some other benefits that certainly came out for me was, as I kind of mentioned before, but expanding a bit further, was the idea of reflecting on my values, and also in terms of the intelligent career. So where do I want to go, and what do I think my career might look like? And they produced a really great slide on what was called the intelligent career, and it was knowing what, knowing how, and knowing whom, and just sort of being able to triangulate that in order to be able to progress yourself through, and recognizing that you often need to associate yourself with different people in order to progress and lead and advance your career, knowing where you want to go and knowing how to get there as well. So I really appreciated the project, and the program was not just necessarily about who you want to be as a leader, but how that can influence and impact how you progress through academia. Certainly the way we did it, in terms of having all day for about 5 or 6 hours sessions, there was a big time commitment in that sense, and certainly knowing ahead of time when these days were, I was able to plan ahead and schedule my week accordingly, and then the lead up to it. But certainly recognizing that it may take a full day out of your time when you're doing these sessions. I wouldn't say the readings were overly onerous in terms of additional work that you needed to do, and certainly the readings were quite reflective and quite helpful in terms of advancing your thoughts on the program itself. But just recognizing that there is that time commitment that is needed, but I certainly think that's well worth it in terms of the benefits you get out of the program. So since Aurora, I've definitely taken a couple of aspects that they taught us and we learnt throughout the program. So the first one was going up on the balcony and sort of taking that overview approach to how I see things and how I see that situation, in terms of recognizing that you need to sometimes go above or stand above in order to get that real clear picture, but also recognizing that once you're on the balcony, that you can't forget the voices that are down on the ground floor, so to speak. So even though you are taking this overview approach, you still need to ensure you give the opportunity for everybody to be heard. And so in a couple of large scale meetings that I've had to facilitate, I've certainly tried to implement that in terms of recognizing that I had a goal with these meetings in order to get something done, but at the same time allowing everybody the opportunity to speak and let their voices be heard, even if I may not have agreed with the opinion or it may not have been as helpful, but still it's key to let everyone feel that they've been heard, and that was a key leadership aspect that I've certainly implemented. And also that idea of temporarily taking responsibility for a decision or a task or a situation, so that you can really analyze it and carefully then allocate aspects back to people in terms of what you know they'd be capable of doing. And again, I've taken that opportunity to recognize that and apply that in a practical sense. And again, in getting ready for those large scale meetings that I've mentioned, I don't necessarily have to prepare all the work that goes into it. I actually delegated to others that may have had differing opinions or may have been able to provide a differing perspective in order for them to facilitate and do some of that pre-work ahead of meetings, and recognizing that I don't have to do it all myself. And I think that was another big thing I got out of the program as well, is that just because we often take on the idea and the responsibility of doing everything ourselves because we'll get it done and we'll get it done right, but that's not always the best and most effective way. We sometimes need to let things go a little bit so that others have the opportunity to grow as well. In terms of advice for future participants, I would sort of say don't be put off by the time commitment, because I certainly think it's worth it. It's certainly, they are long days, and you do cover a lot of ground and you do cover a lot of things, and you come out a little bit exhausted at the end of it in terms of all the knowledge that you've got. But then once you let the dust settle and you work through what was done through those sessions, it's definitely worthwhile. And just to go in with an open mind as well, in terms of knowing and recognizing that people see things in different ways and have different perspectives, and you may find that someone might give you a perspective that you'd not thought of before, or a way of doing something that you'd not thought of before. So that's certainly helpful as well. I found the program really rewarding. It certainly opened up some challenging questions to myself in terms of what do I value and where do I want to go with my career. And I guess I'm kind of in that borderline early mid-career stage. So it was probably good timing for me to sort of set some goals and sort of see where I want to be in 5, if not 10 years' time.